Okay, so here we are in my rant on the ending to Amazing Spider-Man 2 and the marketing as well, which are honestly the two biggest issues I had with the film. I mean, I felt like the film meandered a bit. Might have been a little too long, and Harry was goofy. But at the end of the day, the ending and the marketing are my two biggest issues with the film, and I just felt like I needed a separate video for them because I have a lot to talk about. Also, it's going to get pretty spoiler heavy, and in the off chance someone wants to know what I thought about the film without spoilers, I want to do it. So, let's get into the ending. Now, I said before that Harry felt rushed in terms of his arc, and not only did it feel rushed, but the goblin just felt really shoehorned in. So, shoehorned in. Like, everything that happened, like everything up until Electro's death was fine, but except for the fact that first off, they glossed over Electro's death, which considering how much time they took to make you sympathize with him, and then they just blow him up and gloss and never address it, that just really bothers me. But yeah, so Green Goblin shows up and kills Gwen. It just feels really forced. Like we had the Goblin show up in this movie just to kill Gwen Stacy. Like really, that's the only reason he's in this movie. Like, this is Spider-Man's arch nemesis. He shows up for a couple minutes just to kill Gwen, and Peter knocks him out and, takes him out in 2 minutes. It feels really rushed and contrived, and at the end of the day, I mean, I get it. It's an iconic scene, and on its own, the scene of Gwen's death is beautiful. It's really well done. But at the same time, it's like, do we really need this? Do we really need to do all this just for that one scene? Because it just felt like a desperate attempt to get to appeal to comic book fans. And I get it. You want that scene. It's an awesome scene, but at the end of the day, there's only two ways that you can have Gwen's death work. Things that you can do. Either A, you just scrap Electro and just focus on Harry and developing his arc so that way when he kills Gwen, it feels natural. It doesn't feel pointless. Because Electro as a villain feels really pointless when they just blow him up and gloss over his death. Like, Electro didn't amount to anything. I mean, say what you want about the lizard, but at least with the lizard, it did something. It helped Spider-Man take his mind off of trying to find his killer, and that's distracting. Killer, and got him to become a superhero. It killed Captain Stacy, which set forth a lot of Peter and Gwen's relationship in this movie. What did Electro do as a villain? I mean, I liked him, but at the end of the day, once Peter beat him, it was just like, whatever, we just beat him. But, I mean, in all honesty, the Goblin did more to impact the movie, and why not make it about him? Or, even if you don't, or better yet, another idea. Just, you either scrap Harry or just keep him in there, but don't make him the Goblin. Instead, just have Gwen die some other way. Because shoehorning Gwen's death just doesn't fit the story. And when you're adapting stuff, you always need to not think, how can I be faithful? I mean, you need to think that. You need to think, what works for your story? And reenacting the death of Gwen Stacy, while it's a great scene, it doesn't work well in the story. And, I mean, if you're going to... And it just feels really stupid to just bring the Goblin in just for that one scene. Now, granted, I'm sure there's going to be more of him in the later films, but seriously, I mean, and I'll get more of this in the marketing rant, but they built him up that Goblin was going to do, yet he's only in the movie for a couple minutes, and he's just there to kill Gwen. It feels rather pointless. Just give it to the Electro, the villain that's been established and set up, and that we've gotten to know. But yeah, it's because as it is, it just feels really stupid. And not only does that bother me, but And I just lost the part of my outline I was reading off. But the way they deal with it is even worse. Which is how Peter deals with Gwen's death. Now, this. I really like him mourning with her. I really like the idea of him giving up being Spider-Man, but that whole thing feels really contrived. Like, just montaging through him giving up, grieving Gwen's death, and then coming back. It just feels really rushed. I feel like that's something that could be its own movie. Like, why can't the next movie be that? I mean, because if you just contrive that conflict into like a 5-minute scene, it makes it seem kind of pointless. Like, we're back where we started. Like, because it's like someone pointed this out. Like, if that whole bit arc was in those 5 minutes, why you could make an entire movie about that? What the hell are we gonna do for the next Spider-Man movie now? Like, it's like, oh, I'm over. It's like, oh, Gwen's sad. 5 minutes later, yeah, I'm over, and I'm back to being Spider-Man. And it felt really condensed and rushed. I mean, like, yes, I get it. Peter gives up being Spider-Man for months, but we never see that. Like, they just they montage through it. You make an entire movie about him giving up being Spider-Man and grieving Gwen's death. Don't contrive it. Because as a result, with Electro dying and not doing anything, Gwen dying but you glossing over her death, it feels like nothing in this movie really amounted to anything. It's like X-Men 3. Big stuff happened, but it didn't amount to anything. My next major issue comes in the marketing, and it might seem weird to complain about the marketing of a film since it's nothing to do with the film itself. It's, at the end of the day, I should be talking about the writing and characters and story, but this film had excessive marketing, and honestly some of the worst marketing I've ever seen for a film. And I feel like I need to talk about it here. So first off, there was way too much marketing for this film. Not only was there way too much marketing, but they showed too much. They showed stuff that honestly you shouldn't have known about going into the film. Like, it felt really desperate. So let's talk about the biggest thing. First off, the fact that the poster. Green Goblin, Rhino, and Electro are on the poster. Why? Because I guess Sony didn't have faith in the movie and they thought, well, maybe if we put 3 villains on the poster, it'll encourage people to go. But what pisses me off about that is that you expect all 3 of those villains to have prominent roles, and really it's just Electro, Spider-Man, and Electro. Green Goblin's in the movie for a couple minutes, and then Spider-Man beats him and knocks him out. It's not even much of a fight. And Rhino's a cameo. Like, I'm pretty sure we weren't supposed to know Rhino was in the movie. It was supposed to be like oh, cool, Rhino's in the movie. But when you put that on the poster, audiences expect that. So it makes it seem... So people are going to be disappointed when they might be disappointed when they go into the movie expecting Rhino to play a huge role, and he's just a quick little cameo. It's like, oh, that's it? And like 2 of these villains are minor threats, and I don't feel like it's worth putting them on the poster. Like, it's supposed to be a nice surprise, but it feels like a tease. And then also there's the fact that they announced the Sinister Six. They announced that this is setting up for a Sinister Six movie. I feel like that's supposed to be a cool little surprise, like when Nick Fury shows up at the end of Iron Man and he references Avengers. But here you're expecting it, and so as a result, when you see like the Dr. Octopus arms and the Vulture wings, you're like, oh, they're setting up for Avengers. And even so, it's not even that big of a surprise because they gave so much away in that first trailer. Like, they showed the Vulture wings and arms, which should have been a surprise. It should have been like oh, cool, they're doing a Sinister Six movie. But instead it's like, oh, this is that scene from the trailer. And that was just a fly. Or the final shot of the movie is in the trailer. Which, again, spoilers. But yeah, like, the Rhino suit. That's a fucking spoiler because When Peter's grieving over Gwen's death, you know the movie, as Brad Jones pointed out, you know the movie's not over because you know that you're still going to have to fight the Rhino suit. And you know you're at the end of the movie, and it's like, oh, we're not done yet because clearly Rhino hasn't showed up yet. And then when he does show up, it's like, there's no way we're going to have a Rhino fight in this movie. It's probably going to end with I even guessed that they were going to end with him on the throwing the sewer grate, and I was right. And it was so stupid. It's like they manipulated the marketing to make this movie seem bigger than it really was, misrepresenting scenes, showing scenes that I don't even think we were supposed to see, all because I feel like Sony just had no faith in the movie and they want people to get excited. So yeah, so to future trailers, and I know, sorry if this sounds a bit rambly, but again, if you want, read my written review, because it's probably a bit better focused, but for future reference in marketing, don't give away your entire movie. Have faith in your product. Don't misrepresent your movie. Do not make something epic seem something. Don't take something small scale and make it seem epic like this movie did. This movie's slogan is "The Greatest Battle Begins." It's a small scale movie, mostly focusing on Peter's relationship with Gwen. And this movie makes it out like he's fighting three villains. It's fucking bullshit. And I think that's part of the negative response is that some people may feel cheated, lied to, and not only that, but they might be upset because they feel like the movie spoiled, like stuff in the movie that should have been a surprise was not because all the marketing gave it away. They misrepresented scenes, showing them out of context so people would think they're one thing when really they're another, and it just pisses me off. It's the worst form of marketing ever. This isn't like Star Trek Into Darkness where Abrams was just manipulating the marketing to hide stuff. This is like flat out just tricking the audience in a desperate attempt for money. And I really hope that next time around, Sony has more faith in their film and doesn't give everything away. But considering they did something similar with the marketing of Amazing Spider-Man, I wouldn't be surprised if they fucked up again. So, again, I'm not mad at the movie. This isn't as bad as Spider-Man 3. I did enjoy it. It's just the ending, and not only the ending, but the marketing brought it down for me. Had the film marketing not given away so much, I might have been a bit more entertained by the movie, but Sony showed all the goods, and the movie suffered because of it. So yeah, this is JStar360, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Oh yeah, and be sure to check out my written review of the movie. I'll have a link to it in the description below. Until then, this is JStar360.